welcome back to another explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a deeply personal, literally high-stakes thought experiment. If you've ever just felt the absolute crushing weight of modern hustle culture, the constant noise, the endless notifications, the completely packed schedules, and you've wished for a real, true escape, well, this one is for sure for you. We're going to explore a fascinating narrative about escaping it all, not by flying off to Mars, but by finding something extraordinary right inside your own home.
Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. You're walking down your hallway. You reach out to pull open an ordinary, everyday closet door. But instead of finding those old winter coats you haven't worn in 3 years, bam! You get hit with this jarring, overwhelming sensory shock. Your eyes are suddenly straining to comprehend a horizon that completely defies the geometry of your house. It's a literal door to another dimension.
Section 1. The hidden threshold. A structural anomaly.
So, the moment you step across this completely unassuming structural anomaly, that's where everything changes. On one side, you've got your terrestrial baseline, right? Solid wood, some dust, the everyday reality of a super crowded planet. But on the other side, you step into this hidden frontier. It's a pristine expanse with this crisp, primordial scent that is totally untouched by human footprints. In literally a single breath, your identity as just an ordinary citizen completely vanishes, and you instantly become a multidimensional pioneer.
And this brilliantly illustrates the staggering physical shift that happens. Zero. The very second you cross that threshold, the ambient background radiation, the buzzing of electricity, the distant roar of the highway, every bit of noise from the modern world drops to an absolute primitive zero. You are completely physically disconnected from the earth as you knew it.
Section 2. The ultimate sandbox. Untaxed empire.
Because, look, once your brain actually processes the shock of what's happening, you realize you've just stumbled into a spatial monopoly, an invisible, off-the-grid empire. Let's walk through the methodical process of actually using the literal infinity hidden right behind your drywall. Step 1, you systematically haul in solar power arrays and heavy equipment through the doorway. Step 2, you establish this hyper-modern, fully automated compound. And Step 3, you start harvesting rare raw materials. Or, hey, maybe you just film massive cinematic content. The whole space is yours to play with.
And doing this grants you an unprecedented amount of leverage. I'm talking about a totally untaxed empire. There are no zoning laws, literally zero property disputes, no regulatory committees breathing down your neck, and absolutely no visual or auditory pollution. Utilizing this space makes your exponential rise in wealth and clarity look like an inexplicable stroke of supernatural genius to the outside world. But the reality? You just happen to have a completely untouched planet at your absolute disposal.
Section 3. The psychological toll. Isolating consciousness.
Now let's slow down for a second, because walking between two totally different dimensions introduces a punishing psychological whiplash. It quickly isolates your consciousness from the rest of humanity. Just put yourself in these shoes. Imagine returning to a crowded urban center after spending a subjective week in the absolute, majestic silence of an empty world. You're sitting there in a local coffee shop or some sterile business meeting, and you are carrying this incredibly heavy, exhausting knowledge that you possess the key to a completely vacant earth.
This feeling of total alienation is perfectly captured by this thought. The frantic hustle of human society looks like an absurd, chaotic ant colony. You're watching people literally stress out over trivial corporate politics, or fighting for mere inches of real estate, or chasing fleeting social validation, and suddenly, all of it just completely loses its meaning.
But here's the catch. That incredible secret quickly transforms into an intense emotional prison out of the terrifying fear of discovery. You have to actively filter every single spoken sentence that leaves your mouth. You monitor your own facial expressions with hypervigilant precision. Your environment? It's no longer just a house. You have to treat it as a high-stakes security operation. It's the ultimate, extreme version of hiding in plain sight.
So, the crucial point is understanding the absolute certainty of what would happen if outside forces found out. The threat level is off the charts. If global governments discovered your door, they would immediately militarize the property and seize the gateway. If predatory corporations caught wind of it, they would violently strip mine the pristine sanctuary you built. Everything you've cultivated would be violently destroyed if the secret ever got out.
Section 4. The mental reset switch. Detached grace.
Let's shift our perspective now to the final, and really the most profound evolution of this personal philosophy. Think about the sheer magnitude of this, looking out over a sunset that no other human eye has ever witnessed.
Experiencing that level of solitary beauty, it permanently breaks the gravity of societal expectations. All that cultural programming you grew up with, it simply dissolves.
Which brings us to this incredibly transcendent state of mind, detached grace. This means moving through our original timeline as a temporary visitor. You enjoy human connection, absolutely, but you do it without depending on the mundane world for your survival or your identity. You stop fighting the trivial friction of the traditional world because those arbitrary rules and timelines, they've completely lost their power to control you.
Ultimately, the door is no longer just a geographical escape hatch. It becomes a permanent mental reset switch against a loud, chaotic, and oppressive primary world. It's just a simple wooden frame and a physical key, allowing you to breathe the fresh, untamed air of a universe waiting to be shaped entirely by your own hands.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for today's explainer. If you had a wooden key to a hidden universe resting in your pocket right now, how would you look at your current life? What stresses would just vanish? I mean, really think about how this ultimate secret would permanently transform your own worldview. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you next time.